أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد فالسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Beautiful to be back with you all, Barik, and Tabarakallah, not a bad crowd for the amount of rain outside. For Wollongong, this is actually Barik, very good. We've made a lot of progress. I remember a few years ago, if there was like a slight drop of H2O dropping from the clouds, there would be about 3 people here, Barik. And all the people that either were here because they came early before the rain or they lived next door to the masjid, alhamdulillah. As for everyone else, they would all message me saying, Sheikh, don't worry, I know I'm not in your class, but I'm online. So we'll see now who came, and we'll remember them inshallah, and the ones who didn't because of the rain, we will know inshallah who they are too, so we can put on them later. We continue from Umdat Al-Fiqh, and we are still in the chapter generally about marriage, and we are up to Bab Al-Iddah, the waiting period of the woman after her husband passes away or she gets divorced. And this is a chapter in which a lot of people have a lot of confusion about what's allowed, what's not allowed, but also some people regarding the wisdom of it. What is the wisdom behind the waiting period of the woman? There are things in Islam that we do ta'abbudan, out of worship to Allah Azza wa Jal. We don't know the exact wisdom. And there are things which the wisdom of it is clear, and it's known to us at least a major part of it. So if you ask a person, why do we not drink alcohol? Alhamdulillah, any Muslim or even a non-Muslim with a bit of logic and rationale and intellect about him will be able to tell you many reasons and benefits as to why we don't drink alcohol. And so it's nice and clear. But then there are other things in Islam that we don't know the exact wisdom behind. We may come with some benefits, but we don't know 100% the exact reason. So you have, for example, the 5 daily prayers. Why are the daily prayers 5? Why not 10? Why not 15? Why not 20? Why not 2? Why not 1? This we say, Allahu Alam. You may come up with some benefits, like you are able to remember Allah Azza wa Jal throughout the entire day. And if 5 is not too little, where you don't remember Allah at all, and it's not too much, where it's too hard for you to perform. So you may come up with some benefits. But the exact reason, Allahu Alam. Something regarding the prayer which becomes more obvious is, why is Fajr 2 rakat, and Dhuhr and Asr and Isha 4 rakat, and Maghrib 3 rakat? Why? The answer is always going to be Allahu Alam. Again, someone may come up with some benefits as to why the prayers are set out in this particular number, but the exact reason you're not going to have a reason about. You're going to say Allahu Alam. The wisdoms that come from the Sharia, some of them are mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah, and some of them are from the opinions of the ulama. So sometimes the reason is given very clearly, like for example gambling. Naam, this is an obvious reason, and it causes issues between people. Naam, it increases in hatred and animosity between people. Sometimes it's to be different to the people of the other religions, maybe the Jews or the Christians or the fire worshippers. And sometimes it's from the words of the ulama, maybe a scientific benefit, maybe a health benefit in general, maybe a better way to do something, maybe a means to increase in love or to reduce enmity between people. And there are many reasons that the ulama can give. Regarding the iddah itself, what are some of the benefits? You have a very common one, and this is when they say for a woman to make sure that she's not pregnant. This is very common, but it's not the main and only reason. An example of that is the people who have not, the people that have reached an age where it's impossible for them to have kids anymore. A woman who's, for example, way past menopause, maybe she's 60 years old, if she gets divorced, she still has to do her iddah, even though she has no chance of getting pregnant. Or the people who have not slept with each other for years, maybe they've been separated in completely different countries, they still will have to do a iddah. So it's not just about any pregnancy to see if they are pregnant or not. Because some people, if they limit the benefit or the wisdom to only this, what happens nowadays? They say, khalas, they can easily go do a test and make sure she's not pregnant, and then what does she have to wait? 3 months or 3 menstrual cycles to be more accurate. So we need to be careful in what we say is a reason. In the Sharia we call it a illah. The reason is called a illah. And between a benefit, okay, like a hikmah or a fa'idah. These are two different things. The difference between a illah and a fa'idah, like a hikmah or a benefit, and you can call it in English, is that a illah is related to the ruling. Like, for example, intoxication. Why is alcohol haram? Because it intoxicates. That's the illah. That's the reason. So any time anything intoxicates, it's going to be haram. It's going to be haram. Naam. As that's separate to a benefit. It's separate to a benefit. A benefit, it doesn't go necessarily with the ruling. So for example, why do you gift one another? Because it increases love. So that means it's good. Does everything that increases love between one another, is it good and recommended? Yes, are you sure? So now talking to girls and messaging them at night and sending them flowers and the like. It increases love between people. Is it good? Good. So this is, for example, a benefit. But it doesn't always apply with the ruling halal or haram. One of the benefits, again, it's not always, but from the benefits that you can get, on top of ensuring that a woman is not pregnant, one of the benefits is to ensure that the woman is not taken advantage of emotionally. One of the benefits is to make sure that a woman is not taken advantage of emotionally. Now this you won't find mentioned a lot, but anyone who is, trying to find a good word, anyone who is maybe like a sly, sleazy guy, if he wants to pick up a girl, the easiest girl for him to prey on is a woman who is in some sort of emotional distress. So for example, someone who's just broken up with their boyfriend or gotten divorced from their husband, this is that guy's favorite girl to pick on. Why? Because she's in so much emotional distress, anything that comes to her a lot of the time she'll be willing to accept. And it starts off with a little bit of accepting assistance that the guy's just trying to comfort, etc. But he in reality has ulterior motives. Okay, so this is just a benefit, not a 100% reason, but a benefit for the sisters and a protection that when they are doing their iddah, no one can come and marry them or offer marriage to them directly. And this is part of the benefit for them and protection of them, that they are not taken advantage of. Now this is very important, and you see it happen a lot. You see it happen a lot. So the brothers, obviously you're not allowed to do it, but sisters, you need to be careful regarding some people that are trying to take advantage of this emotional time. He says, rahimahullah, ولا عدة على من فرقها زوجها في الحياة قبل المسيس لقوله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نكحتم المؤمنات ثم طلقتموهن من قبل أن تمسوهن فما لكم عليهن من عدة تعتدنها. There is no iddah binding on a woman whose husband left her during his life without having intercourse or seclusion with her. This is because of the statement of Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Almighty, "O you who believed, when you marry believing women and then divorce them before you have touched them, then there is not for you any waiting period to count concerning them." So we mentioned this before. If a man gets married, meaning does the marriage contract, and he does not be alone with this woman, either doing the actual act of consummating the marriage, or is not alone long enough for the act to happen. It doesn't matter whether they actually consummated or they were alone together long enough for it to happen. If they haven't had any of those two, then there is no iddah on the woman if they get divorced, on condition the man is alive. Because the man who passes away, the woman has a different iddah. Okay, that's a different matter altogether. But now a man's alive, they've done the marriage contract, they were never alone together. 1 month later, for whatever reason, they decide to call it off. They didn't consummate the marriage, they were never alone together. If they call it off and they get divorced, in that case, the man goes his own way, the woman goes her own way. There is no mahar obligatory. There's no iddah, there's no mahar obligatory. What is there though? There is no full mahar obligatory. What is there?
No, is it a gift?
We have two opinions here. Someone said half of it, someone said a gift. Half of it? Well, you've done this before?
No,
Okay.
something bad yesterday.
Allah, very not bad. Anyone say a gift? For the ulama that are paying attention. Gift as well? Because he's your brother-in-law?
gift حسب قدرته للواحد.
So he gives the mut'ah according to, mut'ah according here, the gift, not the other mut'ah, according to the person's qudra. If he's wealthy, then a more expensive gift. If he's not as wealthy, then a cheaper gift. Who says that they're both correct? Depending on circumstances. No one's, you? And it's a good answer that you're going with, but do you know why? When do you give a gift and when do you give half the mahar? Allah alayk ya Amr. When the mahar has been set, that's when you give half of it. When the mahar has been set, let's say they agree to $10,000 mahar, and then they get divorced before the consummation of the marriage. You give half of that which was specified. But if there was no mahar set, and they get divorced before intimacy, then that's when he gives a gift. Okay, so, يعني, Jazakumullah khairan, my confidence level went from here down to here, and these are the ones that attended even in the rain. Now, Allahu A'lam what the ones still at home are at. Allah Musta'an. And the best is that they both said, but that's what you said in the lesson. This is how we get in trouble. Alhamdulillah. والمعتدات ينقسمن أربعة أقسام إحداهن ولاة الأحمال. The women who need to observe a iddah, they are split up into 4 categories. The first, those who are pregnant. So not every iddah is the same. There are those who are pregnant, there are those who menstruate, there are those who don't menstruate, and there are those whose husbands pass away. And that's why they have to do the iddah. So each have different rulings. The first one we're going to speak about is the woman whose iddah is because the woman who is pregnant. فعدتهن أن يضعن حملهن ولو كانت حاملا بتوأمين لم تنقض عدتها حتى تضع الثانية منهما. والحمل الذي تنقضي به العدة وتسير به الأمة ولد ما يتبين فيه شيء من خلق الإنسان. Their iddah, the women who are pregnant, their iddah is until they give birth. If a woman is carrying twins, her iddah is not over until she gives birth to the second. The pregnancy whose end brings out the conclusion of the iddah and which gives the slave woman the status of walad, the mother of the master's child, is that which has discernible human features. طيب. The iddah of the woman who's pregnant finishes as soon as she gives birth. The iddah of the woman who's pregnant finishes as soon as she gives birth. That could be after 1 day, could be after 10 days, could be after 9 months. Okay? It differs. It's not 3 menstrual cycles because she doesn't menstruate. Here, because she's pregnant, her iddah is until she gives birth. So if she's pregnant and then she gives birth, then her iddah is finished. If she has twins, he's saying, rahimahullah, that her iddah does not finish until both are out. Yani all of the children are out of the stomach of that woman, because technically she is still considered pregnant. So if she gives birth to one, then technically she's still pregnant because there's another baby inside of her. So when does her pregnancy end? When she's given birth to all that which is in her stomach. Whether it's, again, 2 minutes apart, 2 hours apart, doesn't matter. But once both or all the children are out of the womb, then this woman has finished her iddah. What about the woman who has a miscarriage? What do we do with that woman? Here he is saying, rahimahullah, when a woman has a miscarriage, we can consider it, her iddah being over, if that baby has humanly characteristics, like the human features have come out. It's not just a mudgha, it's not just like a chewed piece of flesh. Naam. It's actually at a stage where the hands are developing, a head is developing, feet are developing, etc. Which, if I'm not mistaken, doctor, maybe you can correct me, is approximately 81 days, approximately. Naam. But that will go back to those who are known in the field. If it's at a time where it has humanly features, then that iddah is over. As for if it happened, for example, after 1 month, she was pregnant and then she had a miscarriage after 1 month and it didn't have those humanly features, then this is not a pregnancy that removes the iddah from that woman. Okay, very important. Type walad. What's walad? Even though it's got to do with slaves, but what does it mean here? Jazakallah khairan for translating. La. It went away with the sentence, but it just says here, وَتَسِيرُ بِهِ الْأَمَةُ أُمَّ وَلَدٍ. The woman who's a slave girl becomes a walad.
She becomes free.
Close. Walad is a slave girl that her owner, her master, she gets pregnant by. The ruling of that woman is that she remains a slave, but her husband, when he passes away, she's automatically freed. When her husband, master, passes away, and is the father of that child, she automatically becomes free. Okay, she's called walad. Tayyib. So this is the first type of woman when it comes to her iddah, the woman who is pregnant. Done. الثاني التي توفي أزواجهن يتربصن بأنفسهن 4 أشهر و10 والإيماء على نصف من ذلك وما قبل المسيس وبعده سواء. The second type is those whose husbands have died. They wait 4 months and 10 days. This is the same whether the death happened before or after consummation. Okay, and he says, rahimahullah, that like the other rulings, the woman who is a slave, her iddah is half of this. Okay, so 2 months and 5 days. So the second are those whose husbands pass away. They wait 4 months and 10 days. This is the same whether the death happened before or after consummation. So if a woman passes away, no matter how old she is, whether she's 20-year-old or she's 90 years old, if a woman passes away, if a husband passes away, the woman waits 4 months and 10 days. Tayyib. We said about the woman who her husband has not consummated the marriage with her, or they haven't been alone together. If he divorces her, he's alive and he divorces her, there's no iddah. But in this case, there is a iddah. Okay, in this case, there is a iddah. If he passed away, then she, even if they haven't consummated the marriage, they haven't been alone together, she still has to wait 4 months and 10 days. The exact reason we say Allahu Alam. We say Allahu Alam. But the difference between this particular case and the other case is the other one specified in the Quran. Whereas this one falls under the general verse of the ones whose husband have passed away. طيب. الثالث المطلقات من ذوات القروء يتربصن بأنفسهن 3 قروء والقرء وقرء الأمة حيضتان. Third, the divorced women who menstruate, they wait 3. They've translated as qurts. Okay, what's a qur? A qur, there's difference of opinion between the ulama. Is it the menstrual cycle of the woman, yani the actual time she gets her period, or is it the purity in between the menstrual cycle? Naam. The Hanbali madhab is that it is the actual menstrual cycle itself. So, she gets her menses, that's 1 qur. Then she is pure after that. Then the next month she gets a qur again, that's number 2. Then she's pure after that. Then she finishes her 3rd qur. Okay, then she finishes her 3rd menstrual cycle. That's when now her iddah is finished. That's when her iddah is finished. And if you remember the sunnah way of divorcing, what's the sunnah way of divorcing? Okay, the sunnah way of divorcing is that a woman finishes her menstrual cycle and you haven't slept with her in that purity yet. So she has her menses, she's finished her menses, and you haven't slept with her. As for if a woman is in her menstrual cycle or she's finished her menstrual cycle and you've been intimate with her in that period of purity, then the sunnah is for you to wait. Why did some of the ulama consider that it's haram on the woman, it's haram for you to divorce her in that state? From the ulama that said it is because it harms the woman. Why? Because they say if you divorce her in her menstrual cycle or you divorce her after her menstrual cycle in the purity that she's in, that next menses is not counted. That next menses is not counted. You have to now wait again, and we'll get to it inshallah. So in her case, she'll actually be waiting, realistically speaking, 4 menstrual cycles. Okay, so this is something, again, why we don't play around with the Sharia and why knowledge of the Sharia is so important. Okay, but just in general, to simplify here, the women who menstruate, they wait 3 aqra. And the slave is 2 haydat, okay, the 2 menstrual cycles. Again, because the rulings are halved. There's a nice story with Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah and another alim. Imam al-Shafi'i had a lot of debates rahimahullah. And once was a debate regarding what's a qur'. Is it the purity or is it the menses of the woman? And both scholars ended up taking the opposite opinion. So Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah went with one position, and the person who was debating went with one position, and when they sat and they discussed it, they both adopted the opposite opinion. Okay? And this was something common with some of the ulama, that they would, or with the majority of the ulama, but they would go, if they were to discuss amara, it wasn't intisaran lin-nafs. It wasn't about proving that my opinion is correct, but rather coming to the truth. And I remember also another famous quote, I believe it was attributed to Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, where he said, I wish that Allah, or I wish and I hope that Allah Azza wa Jal shows the truth on the tongue of my opponent so I can follow it. Why? Because he fears that other people, they may not follow the truth if he was the one that says it. Yani because of, unfortunately, some people, they have this pride in their nafs, where they won't accept the other person's opinion. But alhamdulillah, he had that humility and that sincerity about him that he would follow it even if it was from someone else. He says, rahimahullah, الرابع اللائي يئسن من المحيض فعدتهن 3 أشهر واللائي لم يحضن وللأمة شهران. Fourth, those who are post-menopausal or Allahu Alam what that says, but they're young, so they don't menstruate yet. Their waiting period is 3 months. Menage, Allahu Alam what the word is. But the women who are under the age of puberty, if a woman doesn't get her menses, or a woman is below the age of menses and they were married and they get divorced, then they wait 3 months. What months? Gregorian or Hijri? Good, the Hijri months. Okay, so they wait 3 Hijri months, and then they are able to get married or be free from the husbands in general after that. So these are the 4 different types of iddas that you have in Islam if a woman gets divorced or her husband passes away. What were they? Number 1. جزاكم الله خيرا الله يحييك. متأكد؟ Number 1. Good, if a woman is pregnant. When does her iddah finish? When she gives birth. Number 2. The one whose husband passes away. What's her iddah? 4 months, 10 days. Good. Number 3. The woman who has a menses. Okay, the woman who menstruates, her iddah is 3 menstrual cycles. And number 4, the woman that, we just said it now, Allah yahdikum. The women who don't menstruate at all. The women who don't menstruate at all. What's their menses? What's their iddah? 3 Islamic months or 3 Hijri months. طيب. The women that menstruate, okay, but they menstruate in long periods. So for example, this month she had her menses. Then 2 months she doesn't get her menses. And then they come back in the 3rd month after that. And then she doesn't get her menses. And then she gets it 6 months after that. What do we do in a case like that? Or a woman, for example, who is breastfeeding. A woman who's breastfeeding and so their hormones are off. Sometimes they menstruate, sometimes they don't. Naam. Or the case of a woman who, for example, she's always bleeding, okay, but she's able to differentiate between that which is actual blood and that which is menstrual blood. And the menstrual blood only comes few and far in between in terms of the year. What do we do in a case like that? For a woman who only gets her period very far in between, very far in between, and somebody may be one every 3 or 4 months, that woman, she has to wait until she actually finishes the complete cycle, which may take 3 months, it may take 4 months, it may take a long time, yeah. It may take a long time, okay? Because she has her menses, she menstruates, so we have to go off the ruling of the menstruation. Okay, we have to go off the ruling of menstruation. There's no other moving away from that ruling to another category because she's not pregnant, nor did her husband pass away, nor is she a woman that doesn't menstruate at all. Okay? Inshallah Azza wa Jal, we'll get into more details regarding the iddah next week. هذا والله أعلم صلى الله عليه وسلم محمد وعلى آله محمد وصحبه أجمعين.